Welcome to AminAcademy.com. Let us do the history of the Greek world in that Homer and Trojan War. The Homeric epics Iliad and Odyssey portray the war as an organized attack of unified Greek army against Troy, a city in Asia Minor. The Trojan princess Paris kidnapped Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, from her husband Menelaus, the king of Sparta. This offense, interpreted as a slight to Menelaus' honor, prompted Agamemnon, king of the Mysians and Menelaus' brother, to raise an army from the entire Greek world and sail to Troy. The mythical tradition had it that after a brutal 10-year siege, the Greeks resorted to a trick. They presented the Trojans with a hollow wooden horse filled with armed soldiers. The Trojans tragically accepted the gift, ostensibly intended as a declination of the goddess Athena. That same night, the armed contingent emerged from the horse, and the city finally fell to the Greeks. Picking up the story 10 years after the end of the Trojan War, the Odyssey then told the story of Odysseus' struggle to return home after the war and the changes that reverberated throughout the Greek world after the fall of Troy. The Homeric epics were the foundation of Greek education in the archaic and classical periods, and as much are historians' best source of pan-Hellenic values. A major theme throughout both epics is personal honor, with Homeric heroes value for more than the collective cause. For example, when Agamemnon slights of Achilles' honor in the beginning of the Iliad, Achilles, the best hero of the Greeks, withdraws from battle for much of the epic, when through his action causes the Greeks to start losing battles until he rejoins the fight. Now we'll discuss further about Homer and Trojan War. Homer, 750 BCE, is perhaps the greatest of all epic poets, and his legendary status was well established by the time of Classical Athens. He composed and not wrote. Since the poems were created and transmitted orally, they were not written down until much later. Two major works, the Iliad and Odyssey, other works were attributed to Homer, but even in antiquity, their authorship was disputed. The conjunction with Hesiod, the Homer acts as a great pool of information for the Greeks about their gods. Homer is the earliest poet in the Western culture whose works have survived intact. The Iliad is composed of 15,693 hexameters, lines of verses, and it's divided into 24 books corresponding to each letter of the Greek alphabet, alpha to omega, a system that was already in place by the time of Herodotus. The Iliad traces the anger of Achilles and takes place over 51 days during the 10th and final year of the Trojan War. The poem makes its name from the city of Troy, which is also known as Ilium. The Odyssey is composed of 12,109 hexameters, and it's also divided into 24 in the same manner as the Iliad. Whereas war and anger were the themes of the Iliad, the Odyssey takes place after the Trojan War has been won by the Achaeans, as the Greeks are referred to by Homer. The Odyssey is concerned with the nostos, that is journey of the Greek hero Odysseus. The and the troubles that he faces on his way home from Troy, foiled on his way by godly intervention, especially those of Poseidon. Highlights include Odysseus' famous encounters with the sirens, with the Cyclops Polyphemus, and the slaying of his wife Penelope's suitors upon his return to Ithaca. According to Homer, the Trojan War was a conflict between the Greeks and the city of Troy that began when Paris, a Trojan prince, kidnapped Helen, the wife of Menelaus, the Greek king. Starting of the war. Paris took Helen to Troy, which prompted Menelaus to ask his brother Agamemnon for help. Agamemnon assembled a Greek army of 100,000 men and 110 ships to demand Helen's return. The Trojan refused, and Greeks began to prolong the siege of Troy. The Iliad, Homer's epic Iliad, is a central work of Greek literature that tells the story of the Trojan War. The core of the Iliad focuses on a period of 4 days and 2 nights in the 10th year of the siege. The Trojan horse. The story of the Trojan horse is not mentioned in any contemporary historical accounts, and it is unclear if it is historically accurate. The date of the Trojan War. The Trojan War is believed to have taken place in 12th or 30th century BC. There is evidence of a city named Troy in what is now modern day Turkey at that time. Homer's role. Some ancient scholars believed Homer was an eyewitness to the Trojan War, but others thought he lived up to 500 years after the war. Contemporary scholars continue to debate the date of Homer's poem. So far, we discussed little about the Homer and Trojan War. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.